of course, the DCU, it is ramping up with James Gunn getting ready to come out with Superman. We're all very anticipating Superman, and with what's happening with Joker right now, there's a lot on Superman's shoulders to turn this DC conversation around. But one of the very exciting castings that has been floating around out there for a little bit is who's going to be our Green Lanterns. We did get a couple weeks ago, Kyle Chandler is going to be Hal Jordan, I believe, is going to be that Green Lantern. But we've been waiting to see who is going to be John Stewart. There's been a couple names floating around there, a couple casting rumors going around. Well, it has been made official, guys, because over here at the Hollywood Reporter, they are saying that the Lantern finds John Stewart with Aaron Pierre. This is what they had to say over at the Hollywood Reporter. Aaron Pierre, the star of Netflix's Rebel Ridge, which, by the way, guys, if you haven't watched Rebel Ridge, if you guys haven't checked that movie out yet, highly encourage you to check that out. It's one of my biggest surprises of the year because it's very, very good, and it's a Netflix movie. What? That always surprises me when Netflix produces something that good. But the star of Netflix's Rebel Ridge has nabbed the plum part of Green Lantern John Stewart in DC Studios and HBO's much ballyhooed series Lanterns. Now, that is important to note. It's going to be for the series that's going to be on HBO Max. We'll talk a little bit about that in just a minute. The actor had already had a brush with the comic book realm. He once was cast opposite Mahershala Ali in Marvel Studios' that will probably never be released, Blade. He once was cast opposite Mahershala Ali in Blade. But the version of the long-delayed movie morphed, and he will not be involved going forward. He also appeared in M. Night Shyamalan's Old, an adaptation of a graphic novel. Now, so obviously this guy's been around, and he's gotten some work. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you. If I had not seen Rebel Ridge, I would not know who this actor was. And I'm also not gonna lie to you that Green Lantern is not my forte. I don't really know much about Green Lantern. I'm very ashamed to say that some of the most I know about Green Lantern comes from the Ryan Reynolds DC movie that he did back in 2010 or 11, whenever that came out. But even with that said, even with my lack of knowledge of this character, I can tell you that I love this casting because just alone, this guy in Rebel Ridge, I thought that Aaron Pierre brought such a presence to the role in Rebel Ridge. If you guys, again, haven't seen Rebel Ridge, I highly encourage you to check it out. He is a force to be reckoned with in that movie. He shows that he can do action, he can do sympathetic. He's an actor that when he's on screen, just from that movie alone, I could tell this actor, when he's on screen, you just want to watch him. He's got such an announced presence when he's on screen. And one thing I also love about this casting is that it's not a huge name. This is something that I love about the Marvel movies as well, that they did, especially back in Phase 1 and Phase 2, when you had like Chris Hemsworth, Chris Evans, Chris Pratt, all the Chris's, really, when you had all the Chris's, which were names that were around, you kind of knew them, but they never really had their big moment yet. They didn't have the role that they were synonymous with. Whereas I feel like this is going to be Aaron Pierre's chance to have this role be his. This is his big break. This is really his big break. And from what I've seen from this guy, even in Old, like M. Night Shyamalan's Old, I'm not a huge fan of, but even I remember him in there, and he was still one of the shining lights in that movie, in my opinion. So this is a great actor who I think definitely deserves this shot, this chance to rise up to the A-list stardom. I think he's going to be phenomenal in this role. I think James Gunn has just casted a great lead here. And when it comes to Lanterns being HBO Max, that's a whole kind of other conversation. I am a little worried, but we're going to see the Disney Plus kind of route with that, where you introduce this guy on TV, and then you're going to have him in the movies, and, not everyone's going to be watching the HBO Max show. I'm definitely going to be checking it out, especially if it's as good as The Penguin. But that's a high bar. That's a high bar for this show to get. But as far as the casting goes, I'm on board with it. I think this is a great choice. I think this is going to lead for great things for Aaron Pierre. And I think Aaron Pierre, if I'm saying his name wrong, is not going to be a name we'll be saying wrong for very long. And I think it's going to be a name on our lips very, very, very soon.